Yep.
Yep.
See how far over I can get here. Coach, that's probably good.
Yeah, it's good.
All right, welcome to Head Coach Scott Satterfield's post-game press conference. We'll start off an opening statement, and then we'll take questions from David and Scott here, and then we'll take questions from the Zoom. Coach?
Yeah, just first of all, just extremely proud of our guys. Man, to come on the road in our first Big 12 contest this year to get this kind of victory, not just a victory, but this kind of victory when it's a game that goes back and forth. It's a battle. Both offenses I thought were in some really good rhythm today, and really came down as we know it comes down a lot of times to that turnover. And I thought maybe the play of the game was Antoine Peak knocking that ball out right there on the 1 yard line, half-inch line. We get the ball back, get it off the goal line, kind of flip the field right there. That to me was the difference in the game. In a contest that goes back and forth like it did. Extremely proud of our guys. I thought Sorsby played his butt off. Running, throwing, played with great poise. Never really hung his head. We had 4 touchdowns called back today on penalties, and 3 on offense, 1 on special teams, and a couple of countless deep balls, down the field throws that were called back as well. And we were some long yardage situations, but we just kind of stuck with it. Get 10 yards, try to get back on the sticks, and then be able to get those first downs. So just proud of our guys. It's a big win for us. It's been a process over these 3 seasons for us, and to build this team up the way it is right now. A lot of people probably didn't know about this team really because a Nebraska game, and then you played Northwestern State and then mixed in with a Bowling Green. But now coming on the road and beating a team like Kansas, who's an outstanding team, and that says a lot about our guys. Now, you only did your last game. We know next week will be huge for us. We're excited about celebrating this win at least for about 24 hours before we can get on to Iowa State.
2 very good quarterbacks. What's
Yeah.
it say for your guy, though? 10 plays, 75 yards. Like you said, you've
Yeah.
had 4 called back.
Yeah.
It's not looking like the most optimistic situation, and yet it turns out
Yeah.
that you silenced the crowd.
Well, throughout the game, it becomes frustrating, when you make a play and then all of a sudden here comes a flag and you get a call back, and particularly, it's one thing on a play where you get positives, but when you score, I mean, Sorsby scores, then we throw a touchdown, and then, we hit Caleb Goody on about a 40-yard play and they bring it back, so it could be very frustrating. I thought that's where he did a great job of holding his composure and just playing the next play. And that's hard to do. I mean, human nature comes in and you get a little frustrated with that, but he did a great job with that. Because it could have affected him on that last drive. You think about that last drive. I mean, we had to go score. And, we get back out there and a huge play on 4th and 10. A huge play on, with Jennings, man, what a catch to get that first down. And then we were able to get right on down the field. So just really proud of them, man, to be able to finish the game off like we did. We've come so close for the last couple of years in these type of games. We've come up on the short end of the stick and really proud of how we finished it.
How confident were you? You minute 45 to go. You're down 4. How confident were you that your team could come back and do that?
We felt good about it. We had 1 timeout. We had minute 45. I think kind of went back to the drive before half when we were able to go down and get 3 points. So we felt like we were pretty good. Now they did switch their defense up a little bit on that last drive, so we had to adjust a little bit. And then they got us the 4th and 10, and then we made a play. Then after that, I thought we just got in rhythm and started rolling. And and I was also in the back of my mind, I felt like we could score, but I didn't want to leave too much time left on the clock. So I was like, oh man, we're down on the 2-yard line. Do we need to, quarterback sneak and melt some more clock? That's how much respect I think we got for their offense, and Jalen Daniels and what they can do. So, but now I went ahead and scored, and our defense came up there big at the end to stop them.
It seemed like your guys were open in the secondary, wide open a lot. Did you scheme them open? Did they just happen to break open? Did KU have a bad secondary day?
Obviously you go into the game and you have your game plan and you have some things dialed up, and there were a few plays that we had just like they did. There were some plays they get dialed up and they got a guy wide open. I mean, they did the same thing. So I think there's always going to be a couple of those plays. You have to execute them, obviously, but when they're open like that, you got to make them, and we did that. And then I think it was just some good route running and Sorsby making some good throws. And just really executing on those throws. And sometimes you can play really good defense, but you're going to hit a good play on somebody. So I think it's a little bit of a combination of that. We got a lot of confidence in our receivers. We think they're very good, and we think Sorsby's pretty good too.
Scott and David.
Yep.
Cyrus Allen always says he's open. Does he mention that to you? I know he says it to Sorsby.
He doesn't really say it to me, but he kind of just winks at me a little bit. He even when he's got dudes on him, he says, "Coach, I'm open. You can throw me the ball. You can throw me at any time," is what he says. that's what you want out of all the receivers. I want them to be, hey, think they're always open, because the ball could always go to them. Obviously the quarterback's got to make the proper decision and hit the open guy. And I think that's what Sorsby's been doing really good, I think, the last 3 weeks, of taking what the defense gives him and making those accurate throws.
You say pretty good defense, and both of your teams have good defenses, and yet 1,200 yards combined total offense. How's that possible?
Well, I think there's some good players. Those quarterbacks. If you go look at any level, the next one too, the NFL. When you get a good quarterback, they're hard to stop. I don't care, how good the defense is. And so, it felt like one of those kind of days. Right from the start, both teams were just kind of hitting plays, and next time they went out, they felt like they were going to continue to hit plays. And so, you got to get one stop, and that's why I think maybe the play of the game was when we got the fumble on the half-yard line. When they drove all the way down and we somehow strip them and get the ball, that ultimately really was the play of the game.
How much did the Arrowhead experience help today?
Yeah, it's hard to get any louder environment than Arrowhead playing Nebraska, and it's very similar. In fact, we had the same last drive, and I thought, you rely on your past experiences, and so Brendan had already done that, had great confidence in that Nebraska game. They had a good play in the coverage they made. We ended up throwing an interception. He was very poised today, even on the 4th and 10. We ran a vertical route and brought Noah underneath. He allowed him to clear the defender before he threw it, and it had to be a high throw, and he ended up making a great one-handed catch. But that's the poise that it takes in order to go win games at the end.
On the Zoom, questions?
I got one. Coach, I saw the celebration at the end of the game. I saw you celebrating with John Daniel when you were walking off the field. Does this win feel like it's been 3 years in the making, and does this feel like you can breathe for the first time in a long time?
Well, yeah. At some point you got to see the fruits of the labor, and we've been putting a lot of work in over the last 2.5 years. And so I got to give credit to a lot of our guys. John Cunningham and JD for supporting our program, obviously. And for our donors and our alumni that have supported us in a new facility, because it pays off. And here we are, in our 3rd year in the Big 12, and obviously there's some growing pains to get here. We all knew that, and nobody really likes growing pains, like nobody, especially the coach. Like the coach hates it, But when you're able to play and come out and see some of the fruits of the labor and come in a hostile environment with a really good football team that's been building their program for some years now. And to come out here and get a great win on the road against a quarterback that's freaking started for 6 years, that can run, throw, can do it all. To answer your question, yes, and it feels good. And so again, we'll celebrate this win. But in this league, all the games could be like this. It could come down to these last minute plays. Last night, Arizona State and TCU. It's just the way these games are, and there's so many good teams, so many good coaches. So. But what it takes to have a successful program, it starts at the top, and then it obviously filters down. You can't do it alone. You have to have support in order to give yourself a chance.
Sorsby really stood in there today, Coach. Took 8 QB hits. Obviously, there was probably the most pressure he was under throughout the entire season so far, but still a solid day by the offensive line. You guys gave up just 1 sack, just your only sack on the season. Have you kind of seen Brendan kind of be willing to give his offensive line that leash of saying, all right, I'll take this hit because I know that I'm going to be able to kind of get that final read in if I be able to take this hit, and I know ensuingly I'm not going to get crushed if I give him that leeway, because my offensive line over these past 3 weeks has kind of continued to step up and shown him that trust of being able to give him that 3 seconds that he needs to go through those progressions.
Yeah, and I'll say this is the best front we've played this year. They're active up there. I think they had 13 sacks coming in. They do a great job of pressuring. Their D-line is very active, and they're very, very quick. They're built to pressure quarterbacks, and to only give up 1 sack today, that's a win for us. I was trying to call a shot play on that one. They brought some pressure. They got us on that one. I'll take that one. But yeah, here's the other thing. Sorsby is an ultra competitor, and he's going to sit in there as last possible minutes he can in order to let the receivers get to their depths and to try to make those throws. I think sometimes, obviously it's everybody. When you only give up 1 sack in 4 games, offensive line plays great, tight ends block, running backs block, but the quarterback has to be savvy enough when to throw it away and also when to take off running. He does a great job with that. And yeah, I'm still proud of the way we came out today and only gave up the 1 sack. I mean, we'll take that after today's game.
Scott.
Is there any update on Dante or Joe following today's game?
Yeah, Dante was very, 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 very close to playing today. I thought, man, he made some great strides, and he truly came down to game time decision today. So I feel good about him next week. I mean, obviously we'll see how he goes, but anticipate him being available. I don't know yet on Joe. We'll see. Once we get back.
Scott.
I always like a good running back question. Both of your guys, did some things for you today.
They both made some great plays for us today. Pryor's work right before half was huge. I mean, that got us 3 points essentially on him on a couple long runs. Tywee made some great runs, some hard-nosed runs to get, to try to get some yards there, and a couple of touchdowns as well on our power play. It was. I will say, going to that power play, we really hadn't run a whole lot of power play. That was kind of a little shout out to Sean Clark, my buddy that passed away last week. That he loved that play on the goal line, and we scored on it twice, including the game winner today. And that was from my buddy Sean Clark.
Was that blocking, or did they let you score there late?
I'm gonna say we blocked him pretty good on that one. He walked in.
Any other questions for Coach? We'll have Brendan Sorsby in a moment. Have we got one?
You got one, Keegan?
How good did that run feel on Tawee going down to the 2? Because a lot of people would just think to stick with the pass, but you often like to do those when it's a light box.
Yeah, sometimes our fans don't like that. Sometimes you hand the ball up the middle, but they pop quite often, and that we had a timeout right there, and that's I felt like, hey, they're thinking we're going to throw it. They're going to be a little bit softer. We had a timeout, so that's a great time to pop one in there, and then Tywee almost scored on it, got down to the 1.5 yard line, and so we still had that timeout. So it felt good, to be able, when they work, the plays work, they feel good. Tywee, he blocked it up good, he got down there, and then ultimately ended up for the game-winning touchdown, so it was awesome.
Cool. Thank you,
All right,
Coach.
thanks, guys.
We'll have questions for Antoine.
Last time we talked to you, you typically force them out. Did you force that one out, or I know you recovered it?
Oh, I didn't even recover it, but at the means, I definitely got that one out.
So you forced it out, but didn't someone else got it?
Yeah, someone else got it. During the moment, I didn't realize I had forced it, but and I just hit him. I tried to scoop him and slam him, but I ended up on the bottom of the pile, and everybody just started jumping on me. I'm like, what happened? And then I just realized the ball was out. I was like, oh, I guess we got that back.
Are you just constantly punching?
I wasn't even going for the punch on that one. I was just, it was goal line, and I was just trying not to let him in the end zone, and my shoulder just landed on the ball, and it just popped out.
Dad text you yet?
I don't know. I have no service, but he definitely did, though. I'll be looking forward for that text.
1,200 yards of total offense, and your coach said your play in the fourth quarter was the key play of the whole game. Just talk about how important that was in a game that was back and forth with lots of offense.
Yeah, that's really important, being able to get a turnover. There was definitely some things that were not going our way, but, we just got to keep going. We got to keep thriving and, just get the ball back for the offense so they could score like they did. And, it was just there from that.
How aggravating was it to watch Jalen Daniels move up and down, throw some long balls, and yet you're still in the game? I mean, I guess that's the good part.
Yeah, he's a really good runner. It was definitely a little difficult at times, or frustrating, I'd say. Him getting out of the pocket, he's just a super fast guy. He can get out of the pocket and just outrun guys, so at times it's a little frustrating. But, our game plan, I feel like, was really good, and our linebackers and D-line did a really good job of forcing him out of the pocket and, giving them some good hits and, just forcing him to try and run the ball. And the more that he's going to run the ball, the more that we're going to hit him, the more that he's not going to want to run the ball.
Cool. Any questions for Antoine on here? Keegan?
How did that feel, that celebration at the end of the game? I asked Sat, did it feel like that was 3 years in the making, like the celebration right there?
Yeah, it definitely did, especially first Big 12 game coming out of the season, especially against a really good team like Kansas. It felt really good, and we just got to keep it going from there. Many more to come.
Antoine, a long day for the both teams, obviously, in a back-and-forth battle. As Kansas was moving the ball like that, as a defender, how did you guys feel to see that fumble come away and then you guys get the stop that you needed in order to go get this big win on the road?
Yeah, we were really excited. Like I said, I didn't realize that it was a fumble at the moment until about 30 seconds into the pile. I was at the bottom. I just hear people yelling ball. I look to my left, and I see Daniels. He doesn't have the ball in his hands. I'm like, oh, I was shocked myself. But it's a really good feeling getting the ball back for the offense and in a key moment of the game. And the offense, they did a really good job. Coach Say, he always talks about offense playing for the defense and the defense playing for the offense. And I feel like we did a really good job of doing that.
Cool. Thanks, Antoine. One
Antoine,
more.
The execution in the red zone today with you guys defensively, just how much has that been building throughout the offseason at practice? How much do you guys emphasize that at practice? How key is that for you guys as a building block of the defense?
Yeah, that's a really key thing for our defense and any defense, to be honest, is being able to stop people when they get into the red zone. And Coach White, he always says the best defense is when you don't let them into the red zone. But obviously they got into the red zone a couple times and forcing them to kick field goals or not score at all. So that's a really key thing that we work on, something that we talk about daily. But yeah, I would definitely say we got to do a better job of not letting them into the red zone.
Thanks, Antoine.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, we got quarterback Brendan Sorsby. Questions for Brendan Scott?
Where does that rate in glorious Brendan Sorsby last second victory?
I think it might be the only one, so probably number one, I would assume. It was an awesome game, really proud of our guys. You love to win those, you love to come out with those wins, so really proud of our group for battling and looking forward to next week.
How's it feel to go 10 plays, 75 yards, backs against the wall, you're on the road? I mean, this is what you dream of in the backyard, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, really proud of our guys. We work that drill all the time. We call it finish drill. We're always trying to, prepare for like situations like that. And like you said, that's what you dream of. So really proud of our guys for, finishing it and punching it in the end zone.
What was your mindset? Minute 45 to go, you've just fallen behind. What was your mindset going into that final drive?
Got to score. No other way around it. Either you score or, die trying basically. So that was the mindset going into it. We had to do it, and we all believed, and we did it.
You were confident going in that you could score?
100%. It seems like every time we have a 2-minute drive, we at least drive. Nebraska, I made a stupid decision, threw a pick, but we were still driving. So, we love those situations. We love, when our back's against the wall, it's what we prepare for. And obviously, you would rather not do that, but given the circumstances, I'm proud of our guys for being able to step up and rise to the occasion and go punching in.
And I know you and Jalen Daniels aren't on the field at the same time, so it's not you against him, but just talk about the competition back and forth. You both had phenomenal games.
Yeah, 100%. We keep talking about the Big 12 being, top to bottom. I think one of the best QB conferences. And he played very, very well today. We were going back and forth, and we talked after the game. We've talked at media days and stuff. Just building that relationship. So really hat off to him, and he played a great game. So did their team, and I'm glad we came out with the win.
Hear anything from Cyrus Allen today by chance?
No, actually, he didn't have too much to say. 11 receptions for 128. Usually, you don't have too much complaining to do. So he's sitting over there in the corner right now on his phone. He's probably not paying attention, quote unquote. But he's usually pretty quiet whenever he's getting some chunk plays and receptions. So really proud of him too.
Questions for Brendan from the Zoom?
Brendan, I was talking to Cyrus earlier this week about this matchup heading into Kansas, and he told me he felt like he was going to feel like a villain in Lawrence this weekend. That connection, 11 catches, 128 yards. Just talk about that performance a little bit more from Cyrus and that connection you guys are building.
Yeah, some big plays as well, and then obviously our routiners that are just the little out routes, check downs, whatever it may be, and him being able to stretch the field that way, and pretty much any time I go to him, he makes a play for me. So really proud of him and his performance, and excited to see what he can do the rest of the way.
What was that completion to Noah Jennings on that fourth down like? When the ball was in the air, did you think it was going to be incomplete? Were you surprised he caught it?
To be honest, I was getting hit like kind of as I was throwing it, so I didn't even see it, but I knew coming out of my hand, I'm like, please tell me that doesn't go over his head. Please tell me. And then as I'm kind of going down, I kind of peeked up and I saw him one-handed, and I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you, Noah. So I'll be sure to take care of him sometime this week. Maybe a little gift or something. Cyrus, I'm not getting him any gifts because he has too much stuff, but make sure that Noah gets one regardless.
Brendan, you stood in the pocket 8, maybe 4 or 5 hits for completions today. Is that something where the accuracy on those throws just comes with repetition? What is it about that? Is it that you're able to kind of even more consistently hit those passes where you're getting knocked like literally within split seconds after they come out of your hand?
No, obviously there's not really much time on task with that in practice because our defense isn't hitting us obviously, but just game reps and just realizing, hey, it's football. You're gonna get hit, so just stand in there and try to deliver the most accurate pass that you can, and let your guy have a chance on the ball, and you're gonna get hit eventually throwing the ball, so you might as well just take it and try to deliver a pass. It's like the quote of if you're gonna let the ball hit your hands, you might as well catch it anyways because you're gonna get hit. Vice versa for throwing the ball, you're gonna get hit regardless, so you might as well try to deliver an accurate ball.
Scott?
Those running backs finally outgained you. What happened?
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I want. I want our running backs to outgain us. I give them a hard time all the time. Too many, runs down on the goal line, though, for my liking. So I'm going to have to talk to Sat about that. We'll figure that out for sure. But proud to tell Lee for finishing the runs. I'm sure I'll hear sometime about it this week, about him scoring more rushing touchdowns than me.
Keegan?
Kind of speaking on that, was there any part of you that was questioning the play call when he wanted to hand it off to Tyler hit like the 15?
No, I'd already taken my fair share of hits, so I was all good. I knew he would punch it in. Honestly, we had one called back. We had multiple touchdowns called back today, which you can't have against a good offense like that. We got to be able to put the ball in the end zone versus just settling for 3 sometimes. So we got to clean up some mistakes, but whatever Sat calls, I trust him, and you just got to go out there and execute it.
We got time for
Speaking
one
of those
more.
calls in the red zone, you guys are one of the best red zone teams in the country this year, scoring touchdowns. I think it was 6 for 6 scoring points today, 4 of 6 scoring touchdowns. Has it been the sequencing of plays this year? Has it been the execution this year that's completely flipped those numbers from what we saw you guys in 2024?
Honestly, I think it's a little bit of both, but obviously it comes down to execution. Our players and especially our big boys up front are taking care of business, and then if we ever have any Q run game or whatever, our running backs are doing a great job of protecting, and that's really what it comes down to. You got to be able to put a hat on a hat and just say, hey, listen, we're going to punch this thing in regardless. So hats off to our guys for doing that, and we've been good so far, but we've got to keep it up, especially going into next week with Iowa State.
Cool. Thanks,
Brendan
Brendan.
and Scott.
Scott, question for
How
Cyrus.
crazy was that day? You've had some good days before, but 11 catches, that's a full day's work.
Yeah, I was kind of banking on it this week. Like Sorsby said, I was a little quiet this week, so I try to just be a little more calmer this week and just let it come to me for real.
You got 2 in the end zone. You've scored touchdowns before, but when you can do it on the road, is that more fun?
Yeah, I like being a villain. I like to come take over people's trap.
David?
You guys seem to be wide open a lot in their secondary. How much of that was scheme and how much of it was you guys just finding the seams and getting there?
Yeah, we went over, it was like great scout team looks over the weekend, so we was kind of prepared for it and we knew we was going to hit them and we just take advantage of it for real.
On the Zoom?
Cyrus, what was really working for you this afternoon? Obviously, we spoke earlier in the week about what this matchup would lead to. Did you see something with this defense that kind of allowed you to have this career day?
Nah, nothing for real. We just playmakers. We here to make plays, and that's what we come here to do.
What allowed you to get separation so easily today, Cyrus?
I'm always getting separation, to correct you right there. But just the feel of the game. I've been playing the game for a long time now, so it's just the feel of the game and just knowing my coverage is for real.
How about the other receivers? You're seeing more of Noah and Isaiah getting in there now. So in addition to you 3, you've got 5 or more that can, and that opens things for you, right? Because you're always open.
Yeah, definitely. There's no egos in that room. I love that group. Like I said today when we was talking, I'm like, we don't have no starters on this team. We got playmakers. So it's the next man up mentality every week.
All right, thanks, Cyrus.